Hey.
I'm back. Thank you.
Oh, no worries. No worries. I know how hard it can be. I mean,
Oh,
not personally, but like I have nephews and yeah, I could never.
it's wild. Yeah, it's amazing, but it seems like when things do go wrong, it just happens all at once. So yeah,
Always.
yeah. But it's so nice to finally meet you, and thank you so much for setting this up.
Oh yeah, and thank you so much for talking with me about Fresh Hell because it's a very messed up movie, I
It
must say.
it is, yeah.
And it's really interesting to me, watching it in the light of, different Zoom horror films and just how very different you take the narrative in a completely different direction. And I wondered if you could kind of talk a little bit about like, where the idea for how outlandish and wild things get in the film came from.
Sure. Yeah, I think part of it was keeping in mind from the very beginning. It's a big thing to ask an audience to sit through a Zoom meeting for 20 minutes. So it better be snappy, it better be funny, and there better be a crazy payoff. And talking with Matt Neal, my co-director, who I've known since the sixth grade. He's one of my best friends. When we were bouncing ideas back in July of 2020, we were like, what's the wildest thing you could see in a Zoom meeting? And I think some edibles had been ingested, so we were both a little stoned, and I was like, well, I think someone cutting their penis off might be the craziest thing you could see, and that made him laugh, and so we decided to see if we could make that crazy idea work.
Wow. And like in terms of like the whole, way that things transpire from there, how did you develop that story? I mean, was it, you know, again like a part of this edible conversation or
Yeah, I would honestly say the idea for the movie kind of started off as a joke, us texting back and forth. And then as we started texting, and after the penis idea, we realized that there might be something there, and it might be something that we would actually have the funds to produce.
Mhm.
So um, Zoom cinema, if you want to call it that, it gave us the opportunity to actually make something as first time filmmakers. So there were obviously a ton of hurdles, but it gave us the opportunity to create.
Mhm. And in terms of, casting, like where did you find, most of your cast as well?
Yeah, I they are either very close friends who I go back with to middle school, or people that I've worked with on stage. I'm an actor. So it was a mix of people that I've known for almost 20 years. And Crystal, who played Cynthia, I had just met the summer before on the last show that I did. So it was a mix of people that I really loved, or admired their work.
Mm. Yeah, and it also kind of shows on screen the relationships that you have with some of the people. Like you can actually feel those relationships
Oh,
on
good.
screen the way that it comes through. So I think
Good.
that
Yeah, I
works
thought
really
it was
well.
important that they all seem like very old friends.
Hmm.
And I thought the cast nailed that. And it's funny, most of them didn't know each other, but I was the common link. I was friends with all of them separately.
Hmm. Well, I think that worked in general. And then, in terms of, where you feel like, people are reacting to this now, like how do you take people's reactions at this point?
Um, one, the pre-production process was a nightmare, and you don't know what you don't know until you just do it. So I unfortunately spent most of the process thinking that this was a train wreck and a disaster, an embarrassment. Um, and it wasn't until like the last month of editing that we realized, okay, at least it has a beginning, middle, and end and makes sense. I don't think it'll be embarrassing. But it was a huge surprise that it started being accepted into film festivals and then winning top awards, and seeing it with an audience especially is a thrilling thing. It all the jokes that I was hoping for, they land, they laugh, they gasp at the right places. But that said, it's still, we got our first like really bad review a couple days ago where, this reviewer just hated it and trashed us. And that's hard. It sucks. But I don't, you shake it off and you move on. And I realize too that it's a movie that's certainly not for everybody. And even fans of the slasher genre, that last act takes a huge left turn. And I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
play with blowing up the template of a slasher movie. And some people have appreciated that, and other people think it's a huge bummer and a drag of a last act. So it's I think we got not arrogant but a little cocky with the awards, and the early reviews were so positive. So then it was kind of shocking when people did have what are valid criticisms. And so yeah, that's been the last week, kind of wrapping my head around like, oh, okay, well some people do hate this, and that's okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my response to those things is always thank you for watching.
Yeah, yeah.
Because because ultimately, you made what you made for the audience that is you. Really, I think fundamentally all art is ultimately made for the audience of the artist in
Yes.
some sense. And then, if other people appreciate it, that's great. If they don't, that's
Yeah.
great too. So
Yeah.
I don't know. And and I'm still kind of wrapping my head around all of this too, because um like I said, my film, our first priority, is also playing at Genre Blast. And so I'm excited that hopefully I'll get to meet you there. But
That's so exciting. Unfortunately, I'm in a play, so I can't go, but you will meet
oh,
Matt Neal, my co-director, and
okay.
hopefully Tyler, an old friend who plays Brian in the
Okay.
movie. Um, yeah, that's a bummer. I won't be able to be there, but it's so exciting. You're part of it, and Nathan is amazing. What a cool.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And and I feel like Genre Blast is one of those festivals that really has a lot of heart, and Nathan puts his heart and soul into it, and so does Chad, absolutely. And and Reagan, the whole team is just so passionate about what they do.
Yeah.
But I thought it was great that you were selected for that, because I do think it will play very well to audiences out here. So can
Great.
I ask where you're based?
Yeah, I'm based in Chicago. Right now, visiting family in Ohio. So yeah, that's where I'm at today. But yeah, based in Chicago, and we'll be moving to LA in November, which will be quite a change.
Oh my gosh, I would imagine so. Like I can already picture like how your horror is going to change when you move to LA. It's
Yeah,
it's a big shift, I would imagine. But
it'll be an adventure for sure.
yeah.
And is Genre Blast first priorities first festival, or have you guys run the circuit so far?
We've run some of the circuit so far. We did Final Girls Berlin was our premiere, and then we did Wench Film Festival in Mumbai. We're doing Fright Fest in London
Right.
in, at the end of August, and that's really exciting. And it'll be my first trip over the pond in like 5 years. So I don't know.
Nice.
We'll see how that goes, but it's a little nerve-wracking, I have to admit. Like the film festival scene right now is not what it used to be. Like,
It,
not that I ever did it as a filmmaker before, but it just feels like there are so many risks associated with it now.
yeah, it's man, I we're all, I think, going through, you know, trauma, the trauma of the past 2 years, and dealing with it in very different ways. And yeah, our first festival was about this time last year, September of 21. And man, it was like I forgot how to communicate, talk to people, being in a crowd. It brought up, you know, the old anxiety, depression that I felt like I had really worked on and moved past. And suddenly, man, it reared its ugly head. Um, so yeah, it's a different world.
Yeah, and making films in the pandemic is a completely different experience overall, I would say. I mean, for you as a first time filmmaker, in the pandemic, what for you was the hardest thing about, the advice that people had for you that didn't apply, or, you know, other kinds of things that were not at all what you expected?
Um, a lot of it was dealing with uh Zoom presents an opportunity, but also its own challenges. We discovered that we would record from three different devices, so we'd have gallery mode and then kind of our close-ups with speaker mode, and then we're horrified to discover 2 months after shooting, when we started editing, that whenever someone coughs or you know uh, clears their throat, the camera switches over to them. So then we would lose our close up. Which is, I think, a new, anybody working in that, area of Zoom for the first time, even if they're a seasoned filmmaker, would, there's things that you just don't know till you do it. And then, of course, the actual cinematic stuff was mostly, it felt like we were pulling off a heist in a way, just dealing with COVID and safety protocols, and um, hoping to God that everyone's tests came back negative so we could do this. So unfortunately, a lot of energy was spent on the logistics as opposed to enjoying the creative. And again, I have nothing to compare it to. I think making a film is going to be stressful no matter what, but the circumstances of 2020 certainly added to that stress.
I would imagine so, for sure. And, in terms of, how you pulled it off really as a heist, I mean, do you feel like it heightened the filmmaking at all to, really have to push through those things? Or do you feel like it was just so much of an obstacle that it didn't improve anything?
That's a really good question that I haven't thought about. I'm sure it did inform things. I think that I personally create best when I'm calm and feeling good, which I was not at all. So I don't know. It might have given it a certain raw energy. That's something I'll really have to think about. That's a great question.
I mean, that's my theory, that it gave it
Yes.
a certain amount of that fuel that you needed to really make the bonkers fly off the wall. But I think that's interesting. I also wondered, for you, um would filmmaking, on your next project look similar or very different?
I think different. I think I would get away from the Zoom template for sure. I just finished a script, and I would like to stay in the world of um, the horror genre and the macabre. Um, but yeah, if anything, the biggest difference would be hopefully doing it with more money, and money that's not my own.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're now exploring the world of pitch decks. My co-director Matt just put together some amazing stuff for my other two screenplays and an idea that he's got. So we're really proud of how the movie turned out, but we also do hope to use it as kind of a calling card. Like, hey, this is what we did on a string and a prayer budget. If we had some resources and a team, who knows what we could do?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you mind if I ask like what your budget was?
No, not at all. As I sat down to write it, I was like, I think I could do this for $7,000, and if it ends up being 10,000, no problem. Um, all said and done by uh, completion of the film, it was about 27,000,
Hmm.
and then I probably spent about 6,000 on festival submissions. And other things, we're going to play at the Music Box Theater in Chicago, which is thrilling.
Oh, that's
But
incredible.
I'm so excited. But they needed a DCP, a digital cinema
Yeah.
package, so that authored, and so I would say it's been about 33,000 with post and marketing costs that were not foreseen.
Gotcha. Gotcha. My producing partner made a feature film for about that amount as well. And just, I mean, it
Yeah,
from everything he's told me, I assume it's an incredibly stressful proposition. So,
it is, and we found out that my wife and I were pregnant, that she was pregnant. I like right as I pulled the trigger and went into pre-production. A couple days later, we found out we were pregnant. So the whole thing had this vibe too of like, this seems like a really like a Michael Scott thing to be doing right now with a baby on the way, making a movie, not knowing what I'm doing. Yeah,
wow. I mean, any aspect of that is going to make you feel like Michael Scott because, I mean, it just is what it is, right? Like, as director, you're always the person who knows the least on set.
yes, yes. And I will say that is a thing. And I even knew it going in, but once we wrote that certain moment of body horror, um, I wouldn't feel comfortable asking another actor to do it. So then I wrote with myself in mind. But never again will I take on four roles: producer, writer, director, and actor. It'll be one of those. So that'll
Yeah,
that'll make things easier too.
that sounds reasonable.
Yeah,
Because I think, but again, like I do think that probably contributed to the frenetic quality of the thing,
sure.
obviously. And so for a calling card, like I think that works well, but you know, obviously, like on the next project, can you tell us anything about the next project?
Yeah, the working title is How Green Was My Uncanny Valley. And it's very much in the template of, you know, 80s hard boiled cop action movie. And rewatching those, all of those guys are just, you know, alcoholics who are on the edge. And so I think there's a lot of taking that template and then twisting it and playing with it. And of course, there's a sci-fi element of these variants who bleed green, and this cop can see it. He's the world's hope, but is also a train wreck. So I think it's tonally similar to Fresh Hell with the kind of outrageous black humor, but will be hopefully very different. But yeah, something that would definitely require a team and some investments.
Hmm. Well, I hope you manage to get those investments because that's really important to the process, and hopefully moving out to LA you'll be able to build some networks and
Yeah,
make it
we will
happen.
see what happens. Where are you based, Ariel?
I'm in the DC area. So,
Oh, well, okay, great. That's
yeah.
that's where my wife is from, Chevy Chase.
Oh, okay. Great. Yeah, I'm on the Virginia side, but absolutely I know Chevy Chase well. So, not Chevy Chase, but you know.
Yeah.
But no, and like for me, like the Alamo Winchester is the theater that I go to every week. And so
Oh, that's even more exciting. That's so special.
yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. So I'm really I'm really excited about that. I'm sad you won't get to see it because it's really an amazing place. And you know,
I am very sad. I'm grateful that I get to see it finally in a movie theater at the Music Box. And my
and that's a
co-director,
phenomenal theater too. Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
I'm pumped, but my co-director can't make that one, but he can go to Genre Blast. So I'm at least excited that both of us do get to see it on a big screen.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would imagine the experience at the Music Box is going to be quite different.
Yeah,
Um, because you don't have a lot of people who are very drunk gasping at everything.
totally.
So
Totally.
but anyway, I want to thank you so much for this interview and thank you for this film, which is, you know, massively popular right now and I think is going to continue to do well in festivals and so forth. And so, you know,
Well,
I wish you all the luck with it.
I really, really appreciate it. Thank you for doing this. That's awesome. And how can I check out our first priority?
I'll send you a link for it,
Oh,
so
great.
you can check it out.
I would
So
love that.
yeah, no. I'll just send it on Twitter or whatever, and you know,
Okay,
just so long as it stays between us, you
you
know.
got it. Beautiful. And I will tell Matt and hopefully Tyler to look out for you and introduce themselves at Genre Blast.
Cool, cool. Yeah, no, that would be great. So anyway, thank you so much and good luck dadding. I
Thank you.
I can't even imagine, but
Some days are just easy breezy, and then other days it's wild. Yeah, but thank you.
yeah, that's how it goes, right? All
Awesome.
right.
Well, this is a real pleasure. Thank you so much, Ariel.
Take care, Ryan.
Yeah,
Bye.
you. Bye bye.